I'm so excited to see your face.
See your face. It's been a while. Longer than usual, anyway.
I guess we're gonna like put out 2 episodes a month now or something. Is that our new cadence?
Sure. I mean, I'm sure it'll really disappoint our fans, but
I know, right? I mean, Manny's gonna be like texting me every week. There's a new episode.
Get your shit together, okay?
Manny, have you started yourself a fan club yet? I'm really excited about our guests, so let's keep our talk real short today. But I want to know, did you have your shit together this week?
Did I? Yeah. Okay, yes. I had my shit together. Things were not accomplished that I wanted to have accomplished, but I pursued them to the best of my ability. It's just that they involve other forces. So that part was disappointing, but I was on it.
Okay.
But there was lots of successful stuff too. So like costuming stuff. Oh my God, that went really well. The thrift gods are with me, and I'll tell you all about that later. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I had my shit together this week, and as much as I could have my shit together, I think I had my shit together. How about you, Becca? Did you have your shit together?
Okay, I would like to say I had my shit together because considering the circumstances, I think I did fabulous. I had a work trip this week, and
cool.
On Monday, I realized I only had 3 days of Vyvanse left, so I took one on Monday so I could pack for the trip. And I called the doctor and get the refill. And I called the doctor and I left 2 messages, and they never called me back. And I called the office and asked the appointment center, who actually answers the phone, how often do they listen to the messages? And she said, all the time. They'll call you back today. I called back. I left a message about, I'm going to be out of town. I really need to hear from you today. Please don't send my refill in if it's not going to get there till Tuesday, because I'll be in a different state. Please contact me and I'll give you the name of a pharmacy where I am. Did you just rip out all your hair? Anyway, I did my due diligence. I had my shit together. You know how hard it is to make phone calls, get refills.
Word. Got it.
Usually I don't realize
overcome all that executive dysfunction.
Right. Usually I don't realize I'm out of medicine until there's none left in the bottle. So long story short, I had to decide, do I need my medicine for the 8 hours, sit in a chair and be still and listen to boring people talk about drones conference for 2 days? Or do I need my medicine for get through the airport and security and not miss my flight 2 days? So I picked the travel days, so that I wouldn't get straight to Boston, and the conference days were brutal, but I survived. I didn't do anything embarrassing. I only giggled about the cute speaker a couple times with my boss. It was great. I had my shit together.
Good job. Way to keep your shit together.
Yes.
Even when it was boring. That's so hard.
It was so boring.
Oh my God, Beck, you've known me since I was very tiny. How often do you see me with a sketchbook? A lot. Always. And if there's no sketchbook available, I will draw on human flesh, mine or someone else's, and like, guess what? That's part of how I just occupy myself.
Right.
I went to 2 parties last weekend. I didn't know anybody at those parties, but I was told like, you should go. There's networking and you'll make friends. And I'm like, ew, people. But like I went, and the best part about it was bring out the sketchbook. See, I have something to do. Look, I'm occupied. You don't know where my brain is, but I'm drawing things, right? So
usually these conferences where it's just talking for 8 hours straight, they put you in front of long tables so you can look like you're taking notes while you're actually doodling. But this one was just rows of chairs and rows of chairs. So everyone next to you and behind you could see what you were doing in your lap. There was no doodling. I didn't even bother to take out my notebook. There was no point.
What, are you not allowed to doodle?
Well, the person
some people take notes that way.
The person behind us is very high up in the FAA, and she's a very professional woman, and it just was too much pressure and stress. I didn't even want to I just used all of my resources to sit very still and quiet. And when I couldn't do that anymore, I would go stand up against the back wall and pretend I was charging my phone and stand up, because it's easier to be still when I stand up than when I sit. And the chairs were uncomfortable.
It is a little, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you be joining the podcast today? Would you like to face the camera?
Hi, Podcat. She's so pretty.
He's very squawky. Say hello.
Hello,
Hello.
podcast.
No, we're not.
Would you like to introduce our guest? No,
Yes,
she turned
please.
her back on me. Oh, my black cat just entered my office.
She's here to be a heat-seeking missile right now.
Oh, she just put her paw inside your shirt. That's so cute.
She's like, can I go in there? No.
She's like, let me in. It's warm in there.
Honey, settle down. Settle.
Cute. When my black cat snuggles me like that, it just means she wants me to feed her. It doesn't mean she actually loves me or wants warmth.
That is what it means from her too. But since I just fed her literally 40 minutes ago and 20 minutes before that, I think she probably has food in her dish. She just doesn't want it. Or she's senile and doesn't realize that there's food in her dish because she's 16. She's elderly, eldritch void being.
Well, I just want to move us along to our guest because I'm super excited.
Please do.
Frank found us a really cool guest this week. His name is Patrick. He is a United States Army veteran who is now a Native American teacher and has an adorable dog. Let's welcome Patrick.
Welcome, Patrick, and your adorable dog. Where's the dog?
So much. Billy.
Oh, and I forgot in my introduction that Patrick also has a podcast like us.
Oh, that's so
A
cool.
podcaster. Yes. Welcome, Patrick.
Ladies, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be a part of you guys. Thank you.
Before we forget to help promote your podcast, tell us real quick about your podcast, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of ours.
Well, I'm not only just a teacher in the Native American community, I'm also a protester and an educator. So I'm really big about bringing history of culture to life. So my podcast is called the B&B Indigenous Podcast, and we cover Native American issues and subjects within the community, everything from the missing Indigenous women to drums and dancing within the communities as well.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm gonna have to follow, subscribe, like, rate, and review, which people should also do for our podcast. Yes,
And make lots of comments. That's my plan. I don't know if that's needed, but like if I get excited about something, I'll make comments on it.
I love questions. I love questions, especially from the non-Indigenous community. We love questions. We want people to ask questions because there's so many assumptions that go on that we'd rather for you to ask questions than have an assumption.
Absolutely. Conversation is key to undoing harmful stereotypes.
Do we converse anymore? I don't think we converse anymore.
No, we just
existed.
No, we just fight on the internet, right?
I disagree with you, therefore I hate you.
Right. We just hide behind the anonymity of our screens and keyboards.
I don't know how anybody could really argue when we're like, if it's not your experience, you don't know anything about it. Then so like it's okay to be ignorant. I mean, it's okay if you are starting off ignorant.
Right.
You want to find out, like, or do you want to just stay ignorant and dumb? I mean, that's the thing. But like,
I have been doing this for so long, and you have no idea how many people come up and try to tell me about my culture.
Yeah,
Haven't you seen
those people that tell like scientists who have devoted their life to like developing vaccines and learning about viruses, and then the person will comment on their tweet and say, everything you said is wrong, do your research. And the person's like, well, I have 3 PhDs and I don't know how much more research you want me to do. Like
what'd you do? Read Wikipedia? I mean,
right.
Yeah. I had a guy reach out to me. He goes, I don't understand. You don't look native to me. I said, well, we come in different shades.
like, what do you mean I don't look native?
So I left my bow and arrow at home apparently. You deal with that kind of stuff on a regular basis, but that's why I love education, because you get to the youth. I use our motto like the cigarette company: get them while they're young.
Oh, I love that. Yes, indoctrinate them while their brains are still malleable. That's wonderful.
We were indoctrinated young as well.
Yes, just into a very different type of culture.
Yeah,
it was a cultish god culture. Look for.
We deal with that quite a bit. Trust me.
I bet you do.
We've dealt with Catholic with Catholicism and within the Native community, and they don't realize how it's destroyed our communities, because you try to be traditional and go back to what that works, And then you have somebody like, no, you've got an angry guy from the sky that's invisible telling you you're going to go to hell. And it was, for us, they were like, no, we don't.
Yeah,
I saw
it,
a meme recently where the priest was trying to tell indigenous peoples, like, I gave you God. And they're like, the sun is real, actually.
Yeah, there you go. Gave us gonorrhea, herpes, genocide,
smallpox.
Yeah, thanks.
We gave you
Alcoholism,
potatoes and
don't
corn
forget
and pumpkins and
alcoholism.
squash and turkeys.
There you go.
So just to start us off, Patrick, we're going to give you a nice, easy question. Did you have your shit together this week?
I'm a single father of a teenage daughter. I don't think I've ever found my shit to get together.
Yeah, you're too busy.
My wife passed away 2 years ago from cancer, so I raised my daughter on my own, and it's an adventure. Let me tell you what. I'm glad to be a man. I'll tell you that, because I would never want to trade place for with a woman. I appreciate her every day more now than ever. Because I go through this with my teenage daughter, and she's an amazing kid. I'm very blessed, but still, I am learning so much. And I'm learning how to like.
When you say you go through this with her, what do you mean? What are you going through with her? Do you mean like,
I'm learning about
challenges, or like
I'm learning about. I think I learned more about tampons now than I ever knew what tampons. I didn't know they came in so many shapes, forms, designs, colors.
Don't get her started on the cup.
Oh my God. Birth control. There's like 30 different types of birth control and non-birth control, and the shot and the needle and the cup and I'm like, I've helped open guys up in the military, in the field. I'm like, I know more about my daughter's parts than I do about the guy I opened up and seen the inside of them.
Wow.
In your defense, a lot of women didn't know either. Like,
yeah.
I only learned that the hymen isn't a seal like 15 years ago. It's like a curtain. Like, there's nothing to break, y'all. What is this?
I grew up the same way. Yeah. I grew up
So,
as a man. I thought, as a guy, that's what your dad talks to you about. Just don't, if you break the hymen, I'm like, yeah, I break something. I break something in her. Yes, son, it's okay. Thanks for horrifying the hell out of me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's marked in case of emergency, break glass.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. You just have to read.
And also,
it's very small scripts.
Fun fact about tampons: if you go through the scanner at TSA with one, you might get stopped for a pat down.
That's going to be a very intimate pat down.
Well, I asked. I was like, I'm just curious. Could you see my tampon? And the guys turned bright red, and the woman they called over to pat me down started laughing. She's like, yeah, actually, that's why you got flagged for a pat down. She's like,
no way.
She was like, it's nice that you felt comfortable enough to share that with us. And she gave me a real quick pat down and sent me on my way, because she knew what it was and she didn't have to like get intimate.
Well, this is what is so foreign for me, being native off the reservation. We don't treat first of all, we don't call it a period, because a period means the end of something.
Right.
In our culture, we call it a moon cycle, because your body follows the moon. The full moon is out for 7 days as it goes through its cycles, and it goes back in. It's actually like a woman. So it's not something that begins or ends. It's just something that changes. So we don't call it a period. Second of all, our women are, being from a matrilineal society, meaning the power of the wealth and decision making goes through the women, our women are held in high regards during that cycle. So in that cycle, when they go through that cycle, women don't cook, they don't clean, they're pampered, they're kind of waited on the entire time. And the women kind of really go into groups, like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'm going to come over to your house. I got it. So they treat each other like sisters. So when that woman goes into that moon cycle, she's kind of separated from the husband and the kids, and she has her own time to be able to heal on her own. And another woman, a sister, a cousin, will come in, and she kind of takes the role of whatever that wife did before. Wow. So if she was a primary cooker, or if she's a primary whatever, and it's like she never left and just cycles right back in, because we don't look at it as that. Like, explaining to my daughter, she goes, Dad, don't you find buying tampons gross? I said, no. She goes, why not? I said, because I like sex. It's part of that if you can't take parts of a woman that you want and go, you know what, I don't like those parts. I don't like those parts of her, so I'm just going to take these parts. You got to
You
take
can't
it
own a
for
car and not put gas in it and change the oil.
That is it. So my daughter said, my guys at school don't think that way. I said, because they're boys. There's a difference between boys and men. You know?
They still think about cooties.
Absolutely. Well, so does 35-year-old men sometimes.
Yes,
That's awfully
absolutely.
true.
Absolutely. I've always said, like, why do we whisper about our periods? Because it makes men feel uncomfortable with it. How do you think it makes us feel to have our period? You can't even listen to us say, I need to go change my tampon. Try having cramps and blood hemorrhaging out of your genitalia.
I give respect to anything that bleeds for 7 days and doesn't die. That's all my respect.
Right?
I have all my
Supernatural.
respect. I get the flu. I'm the biggest little bitch you ever meet in your life.
Okay, but in all fairness, you get sicker than a woman when you have the flu. I used to just make fun of men when they had they get so much sicker than women, but it's true. We have stronger immune systems. Radio Lab has a really great episode called Everybody's Got One, and it's about your placenta. Everybody had a placenta at one point, and how the placenta's main job is to take everything from the mother's body that the baby needs to survive and grow. And the mother's body's job is to not die. And because of that, women evolved super strong immune systems because that's what fights back against the placenta. So when women get sick,
Fascinating.
we really don't get as sick as men because our immune systems.
Thank you so much for justifying me being a wussy.
I did not know that.
It is with a very begrudging attitude that I admit when you get the flu, Patrick, you get sicker than I do. Man flu.
You know what? My wife had stage 4 cancer, and I had to, I want to say the words make, because I couldn't make her do nothing, but I had to forcibly encourage her to quit work.
Wow.
Because she was getting incredibly sick. I'm like, I get the flu and you don't want to touch me, don't want to talk to me, wrap me up, rub my head, treat me like a baby. I admit it. I'm man enough to admit that I want to be catered to when I'm sick. Here she is with stage 4 cancer, and I wake up in the middle of the morning and she's scrubbing the kitchen floor. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I can hire somebody to do that. Yeah, but we can save the money. No, get up. You know, but she was so tough and so resilient. I have more respect, you know, than I've ever have for women that go through everything that they go through, honestly, because every time I pee, I look down and smile. Like, thank God. I woke up as a man again. I woke up as a guy again. Thank goodness. I ain't got to worry about that no more. Woo.
Wow. All right, Patrick. Well, are you ready for the serious questions? All
Bring it
right.
on.
So first we want to ask you, what were you raised to believe by whoever raised you, your parents or whichever adult raised you? What were you raised to believe it meant to have your shit together? Like, what example were you given, or what were you specifically told it meant and looked like to have one's shit together? And now that you're an adult, what does it mean to you now? Has it changed? And do you have your shit together by either definition?
Okay. I was raised having your shit together as priorities. Everything was priorities. Everything was priorities. Do you know what priorities were? Do you know, you can have nice Nikes or you can have lights. You know, you can eat filet mignon one day a week. Right. You can have filet mignon one day a week, or you can have hamburger 5 days a week. So those priorities were the biggest things. And it's also priorities what separate us from grown-ups. That's why you have 60-year-old boys, 25-year-old girls. They're not women, they're not men. They are still figuring things out because they don't understand priorities. So as a young man, I grew up, in an alcoholic family, drug-induced family. Unfortunately, so a lot of that goes on the reservation here and there. I've been on my own since I was 13 years old. So priorities are a big thing in my life because I had to survive. Been homeless, living in the military, being special forces. You had to have your shit together just to survive. So I think I have my shit more together now than I ever has as a single father, because I have a little girl that depends on me. I have a young lady that goes, Dad, I don't have all the answers. And I'm like, I don't know, but I'll research them. I have to be that kind of dad. So when I say I have my shit together, no, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. Well, and I think that's a process of getting your shit together. I don't think we never truly get our shit together ever. No matter how well you think you're together, you can always fall apart. I never thought I was going to lose my wife at 40 years old and be a single dad. And I always consider myself as a tough guy. I've been shot 5 times, blown up twice in Iraq. I got 3 bolts in my knees from jumping out of airplanes, a bolt in my back. I'm thinking I can survive anything. I lost her, ended up committing suicide because I thought I was tough. So I'm still figuring out how to get my shit together, by far, far from getting my shit together.
So does it still mean the same thing to you though? Does it still mean having your priorities straight, or does it mean something different now?
It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's so much deeper than just having priorities. That's what I was taught. But now I'm like, I can have all the priorities in the world together, but when shit hits the fan, how am I going to react to it? So, because everybody can say I got my shit together until something hits them. You get diagnosed with cancer, you lose a leg, get a car accident, lose a child, and all of a sudden your shit's not together anymore. So it's one of those processes that I think the whole phrase of getting your shit together is an illusion. That we're still growing. We're still, because there's different shit.
So having time to process grief and giving yourself the space to grow and learn from tragedy, would you say that is your definition of having your shit together now?
I would say I'm getting my shit together.
Okay.
Because when you lose somebody the way I did, it's not something you get over. Like I've had people tell me, oh, you'll get over it, you'll get by it. You don't get over, you don't get by it, you adjust.
Yeah.
It's like missing a limb. You're never going to get over that arm being gone. Never. No matter what, you're never going to be able to pick up another plate with that arm. But you adjust to it. You adjust. You learn how to do things with your left arm. You learn how to do things. So, God, it's such a loaded question. Shit together, because it's one of those things I don't think I'll ever have my shit together. I think I will have stuff in the facility, but I think I'll ever be together.
Well, I mean, I know some people think having their shit together means having the biggest house with the most expensive car with the most beautiful wife and the best job. And some people think having their shit together is to always be kind and loving no matter what. And I really think what I'm getting from you is that having your shit together means learning and growing through everything that happens to you.
Absolutely. Because I've had everything. I've had a nice house. I've had fancy cars. I had my ex-wife. I thought I had the trophy wife. I thought I had all this, and I was never happy. Not truly. But when my wife wife that passed away when she got cancer, nothing mattered. Nothing. I sold everything I owned. Everything. I sold pots. I had an open house because we had to raise $35,000 for her cancer treatment. So I sold pots and pans, plates, dishes, all my regalia, my beadwork, crafts, beds, everything. We were at the end of it all, we were sleeping on 4 blankets. We were sleeping on 4 blankets with 2 pillows, with no TV, no furniture, nothing. But I felt happier then than I did with all the other shit I had. So I definitely look at life way differently. I look at, and I think I look at it more beautiful than anything now.
Wow.
So having your shit together, a lot of people interpret it in different ways, like Beck just said.
Totally.
And it seems like a lot of people, us included, look at it like a goal. Like when I asked Beck if she had her shit together this week, I'm like, did you have goals and did you make the goals? And I feel like what you're pointing out is that having goals can be inspirational, but your life isn't a series of like, get to this point and then you're good and the rest is clean sailing. Your life is this journey, and how you deal with it along the way is the thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In our culture, we don't set goals. The only goal you have one goal in your life, is to be just a little bit better than you were the day before. The reason being is you don't know what's down the line. If you say, well, I'm going to set a weight loss goal, 50 pounds in 1 month, then you get real sick.
Yeah.
Right? Or an accident. Right? Now you feel like a failure because you couldn't reach that goal. You're setting up yourself for failure. But there's one thing you can never set yourself up for failure, is just be a little bit better than yesterday. Because that happened. You know what happened. That exists. That's real. 5 minutes from now isn't real. So for yesterday, like my goal is, yesterday I told my daughter I loved her in the morning. Today I'll tell her I loved her in the morning, and then I'll tell her in the afternoon. And then tomorrow I'll tell her in the morning and the afternoon and one day, just a little bit more than I did before. So, and I try to face everything in life that way. I don't want to be a great person in 30 days. I want to be just a better person I was yesterday. I want to read a little bit more. I want to love a little bit more. I want to clean a little bit more. I want to educate myself a little bit more, just a little bit more than yesterday. So at the end of my journey, 10 years, 5 years, whatever, I can say I've done nothing but improve in my life. So when the next woman comes in my life, she's not getting the 30-day Patrick. She's getting that 60-day Patrick.
That is so beautiful.
And is this philosophy such a deep part of your culture that you don't have to teach it when you're teaching? Or is that something you integrate in what you're teaching? What are you teaching?
I teach it because it's a fundamental life decision. You know, we focus on everything but what's important. We think we focus on important things. We really don't. The old saying, stop and smell the roses. You know when you do it? When someone dies or when your life is, that's when you do it. But that's the wrong time to do it. It really is the wrong time to do it. What is it? The old song is, don't buy me roses at my grave. Bring them to me while I'm still alive.
Yeah.
You know, so I never thought like this until, you know, even though it's part of my culture, I never thought about this until it really affected me, to a point I'm like, wow, when my wife died and I took 97 Percocets and 37 Tramadols and I wanted to end my life, I was done. I was done. I had 2 kids. I wasn't thinking about them. I was thinking about the pain I was dealing with. I just wanted it to end. And they brought me back out of the hospital. And I woke up with a tube down my throat and they put my stomach. And you know what? I didn't wake up and go, thank goodness it didn't happen. Thank goodness. I was like, man, I'm not even smart enough to kill myself right. That's what I thought. The first thing I thought, I'm not even good enough to kill myself right. So, and then my daughter was like, oh my God, I have so much more to live for than what I thought I had to live for. And it was nothing I thought I had to live for. It's nothing I thought I would live for. So now I don't set my goals as 2 days, a week, 3 months, 1 year, 5 years. They say that's the way of success, is set your goals. That's not a way of success. I find that's a way of proving yourself wrong. You're saying, how many times do you start a diet? I'm going to lose this much weight. I'm going to diet every single day. And then I'm going to lose this weight. And then all of a sudden, Thanksgiving happens, Christmas happens, somebody brings food into the restaurant, you break down. But if you say, well, yesterday I ate a cheesesteak. Today I want a cheesesteak, but I'm only going to eat a half a cheesesteak. And then tomorrow comes, well, I ate a half a cheesesteak yesterday. I'm going to eat a quarter cheesesteak and a salad today. And then you're just a little bit better than you were the day before. Just a little. It may not look like it's a big thing, but at the end of that 30 days, you're eating salads, you're working out a lot more. I started working out by just driving to the gym every day. I hated going to the gym. So what I told myself is, you know what? I'm not even going to the gym. I'm just going to pull into the parking lot. So I'd get up, go in my car, and I just pull into the parking lot. Before you know it, the next day I was like, no, I'm tired of pulling here. Maybe I'll just walk inside and go just jump in the pool. So that's what I did. I drove, jumped in the pool. Now I'm going to the gym twice a day. I feel great. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. At 41 years old now, I'm in better shape than I was in the military, only because my whole goal is just be a little bit better than yesterday. That's my whole goal, just be a little bit better than yesterday. I'm not worried about next week. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Right now, at this moment, is the only thing that exists. Nothing else exists because it hasn't happened.
Wow.
So,
Word.
Right now.
That just hit me like right here. That was powerful. I needed to hear that. Wow. Thank you, Patrick. That's incredible. That was incredible. Can you tell us, can you tell us about how you work that into raising your, well, you talked about how you do it with raising your daughter. Can you tell us about how you do it with teaching?
Well, kids deal with so much these days with anxieties and fear. I mean, and I watch my daughters. I have 2 beautiful daughters. I have a 21-year-old now and my 17-year-old now. And I watch and I see what affects them. They're always worried about, like my daughters are always worried about pleasing me. You know, if I say I'm disappointed in a grade, it really hurts.
Oh, my kids hate that. They'd rather I be angry than disappointed.
That's it. So there was a documentary that went on about finding true God, finding true God. And the whole story wasn't really about finding God. It was actually about finding happiness. And they found the people that are happiness are the poorest, but they're so happy because they literally live that day for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get my daughters to do that. And we do self-affirmation. In my house, there's no, I'm stupid, I'm dumb. That is not allowed in my house. I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm fat. None of that is allowed in my house. None of it. So when we get together, I was like, baby, damn, you're beautiful, sweetheart. And I say that regularly. And I say that to my daughters, they'll get dressed like, what do you think? Oh my God, you're gorgeous. How did I become so lucky as your father? I can't believe I'm so lucky. Oh, stop, Dad. You're just saying, no, I'm serious. I'm so blessed. I mean, so I want them to know that.
I'm not exaggerating. I have goosebumps right now. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful that there's a father that's doing that with his daughters. That makes me so happy. I literally have goosebumps.
Well, I think that's why women marry a lot of horrible men. Because they don't have an example. They don't have an example of what a man's supposed to be. So that's my goal. My goal is, and I told my daughters, you want to date? He's got to be better than me. And I said,
they will never date. Unless they choose
Look
to
at that grin.
in
If
which
you're
case
on
they might do
Spotify
okay.
right now,
so I set the bar high. That way they never, and I say, don't ever downgrade yourself. You're worth everything you're worth. So when you downgrade, you're telling me that you're not worth what you think you are. So if I talk to you and tell you how much I love you, that boy better do it more. If I tell you how beautiful you are, that boy better do more. If I get out of my car and open my door for my daughter, that boy better do the same thing. If I can show you the respect and love that you deserve, he better be able to do the same thing. Don't ever go below me. And I'm going to set the bar high. Don't go below me because you deserve better. And she brought her first boyfriend home not so long ago. He comes in and he has this really weak handshake.
No, not good.
So he comes in and she goes, what do you think, Dad? I said, well, he's sweet. He's sweet. He can work on his handshake. Well, I thought that was like, I said, he can work on his handshake. Remember, a handshake says a lot about a person, man or woman. And I didn't think she was really going to say anything. So next time he comes over to me, he goes, Mr. Brooks, it's nice to meet you. Apparently she went back to him. So listen, my dad
thinks your handshake is weak stuff. So
that's it. So
clean up the weak sauce, pal. You're not measuring up.
Okay, but I just need to go back for a second. If people are just listening, get on YouTube and go back and see Patrick's grin when Kate pointed out that if they are waiting to find a man that's better than their dad, Patrick's daughters are never going to date. It was a diabolical dad grin. It is not to be missed.
Well, my daughter's, I told her, she goes, if my dad don't approve of you, I can't date you. She goes, why? Because of your dad? She goes, no. Because I want a guy that treats me like my dad does. Yes,
that's awesome.
That's the goal. And he's the nicest kid. He really is. Every time he comes over, he walks her to the front door, and before he does not drop her off, he comes in and introduces himself to me. He goes, "How you doing, Mr. Patrick? I like to shake your." He shakes my hand. He tells me what's going on, and he says goodbye to Cheyenne in the right way, and he leaves. And I'm like,
beautiful.
Well, he's got some brains on him. He's got some brains on him. My daughter's like, well, I'm not going to settle for less, Dad. Wow. And I was like, that's it. And that's my whole, so when I teach you this in classes, I used to do a boys to men class on my reservation, where I took young boys from the age of 6 to 18, and we had graduation classes. So we taught, in my tribe, a man has to do everything a woman can do. There's no separation, because so we teach them how to cook, clean, they learn how to cook, they learn how to cook and properly clean, not just sweep the floor. They know how to mop, sweep, dust. They know how, and they know how to change diapers. They have to learn how to change diapers. They have to know how to burp. They have to know how to feed babies up to the age of 18. And when they graduate when 18, we get donations of 3-piece suits. So before they graduate, so the kids go off knowing how to write a resume, cook, clean, and be able to have a 3-piece suit. So when they graduate, they can walk into any job and be able to present themselves in the right way.
Wow. Self-sufficient human beings.
What? Wow. That's it. When I met my wife, she was amazing. I knew how to cook. I love to cook. And she was like, you know how to cook? You know how to make handmade fettuccine? I said, yeah. You know, she was blown away because she
Patrick.
wasn't used to that.
Where do you live, sir? I'm gonna book a flight.
My home is always open. I bring people over and I cook for them all the time because I love to feed people. And it's something about, in our culture, we were very poor people. So the one thing that you always guarantee when you go to see somebody, there was always food waiting. There's always food cooking, always. So you fed them and you never turned down a meal. I don't care if you just came back from a huge feast. You came to somebody's house and they offered you food, you sat down and ate. So feeding somebody is feeding on the inside. It's a different feeling. You fall in love with somebody when you feed it on the inside.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, that's true in the culture that I grew up in my family. That's true in the Polynesian culture I was introduced to when I was a missionary. In all the warmest cultures, I don't mean temperature, but I mean like heartwarm,
Yes.
close family cultures.
Absolutely. You go back to the Italians are the same way. You don't go to an Italian's house
I grew up with.
there you go.
Yeah.
You might gain about 50 pounds, but you don't turn down the food. As that was my trip to Italy. I went on a family share, and I gained 35 pounds in 2.5 weeks because they do the six meal things, and I was like, I'm not used to this. I can't. And if you got an empty place on your plate, it's not empty long. Someone's putting something else on your plate.
I learned that the hard way. I was like, oh no, I meant I was finished. I grew up with like clean your plate because you got to appreciate the food that you actually have. But like when I was visiting Italy, they're like, oh, you need more. I'm like, I can't.
Oh my God, I can't do it yet. You have to eat while you're on the treadmill. That's it.
Yeah.
Patrick, before we say goodbye to you, can you tell us a little bit about your tribe and educate us about First Nations people or Indigenous people that you come from?
Well, I'm from the Iroquois Nation, the Haudenosaunee people. You call us Iroquois. We have 6 tribes within our confederacy. A lot of people, when I tell people I'm Iroquois, like, oh, I know that tribe. Well, we're not a tribe. We're a family of tribes called the 6 Nations, the Mohawk, the Onondaga, the Seneca, the Cayuga, the Tuscarora, the Oneida. So I'm a 6th generation storyteller amongst my people and a 4th generation flute player. I've been doing education events and programs. I've traveled all over the world to do dancing and singing and culture. I've danced for the Queen of England and Nelson Mandela. I've been blessed to have those opportunities. And also the Obama family brought us in and things like that. So which was really awesome. My podcast is the B&B Indigenous Podcast. We talk about different things that goes in the community of Native culture, and we want to share that with the outside public to get away from the horrible stereotypes that go on within, and they still go on badly, unfortunately, because we still raise our kids on Hollywood TV instead of going, hey, that's a Native person. How about you ask them that question? And getting it from the horse's mouth instead of going, let's watch 3 episodes of Pocahontas.
Right.
And get on our history. And believe me, it happens all the time. I've had people ask
Res
me,
Dogs is out, so that might help.
2 of my cousins are in Res Dogs.
No way, really? That's so cool.
Love that show. I was just
gonna
going to
skip when I saw the preview for that.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And I'm not going to lie, I cried through 6 episodes easily. It's so tied back to our foundation of our people.
Yeah.
Now, Mystery Alaska's out, talking about the missing Indigenous women with Hillary Swank.
Finally.
Great show. You gotta guys check that out.
Are you worried about that being more like a white savior storytelling though?
You know what? When it comes to our people, you have to take the good and the bad.
Okay.
Because we don't have any platform.
Okay.
So, Hillary Swank, comes in and she's the detective, but we have some great, strong Indigenous actors and actresses that are in that show that really outshine Hillary Swank in a lot of ways. But we have that going on. We have Native comedy all over the place now. We have the Native American comedy stand-up tour that you can buy on DVD. It's hilarious. And we have great stories to tell. We have great stories to tell. And it's not all loom and gloom. Like people are like, oh man, I get so depressed when I watch anything about Native people. That's
like
horrible.
Res Dogs proves that. So
yes. We have great comedy. Yes, it's funny. Dallas Whitetooth, the guy who plays the spirit.
I love you.
I love Spirit.
It's hilarious because we play on our own stereotypes, which is
Yes.
Yeah. I was not
but-
expecting that. I was like, is that okay?
So I travel and I teach and I try to educate and I do podcasts like this quite a bit. And I really enjoy it because people like yourselves, open-minded individuals that want to ask questions, the good questions. If you only heard half the questions, you'd be ashamed. Like I've had people ask me, so what is it like to live in a teepee? Yes. No.
Wow.
I like air, I like AC. So I don't, and I'm from we lived in longhouses, not teepees. Oh, I thought Indians lived in teepees. Yes, some used to live in teepees. We're East Coast natives. We didn't have to hunt the buffalo. We lived on the East Coast. So we lived in longhouses. We had a summer lodge and oh my God. Oh, or somebody says, wow, you speak really good English. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I have a college degree and I was born here. So what did you think? So I'm thinking they were
How's
saying,
your English?
So I'll tell you this story. This little funny, quick story real quick. I was in a powwow fully dressed in regalia, eagle feathers and all. And this lady comes over and she's a valley girl, straight up valley girl. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. She
Like,
comes
oh my
over.
God, your feathers are so pretty.
Oh my God. So I go to walk to my car. It's dinner break for me to rest. So I go over to take off my regalia to go get some food. And she stops here and she goes, oh my God. Oh my God. You're Indian, right? You're Indian? I say, yes, ma'am. I'm Native American. And she goes, my sister, she went to Arizona.
Oh my God.
Do you know where that's at? I said,
Oh my God.
I know where Arizona is, man. She goes, well, she got a real Indian name. And it would be so awesome. I mean, like so awesome if you give me a real Indian name. And at this point, my patience has kind of run out. So I gave her exactly what she wanted.
White girl talks a lot.
I gave her the most generic Hollywood Indian she'd ever see. I was like, whoa, Indian name you want, eh? I must speak to the creator. So I turned around and looked up at this guy and mumbled a bunch of stuff. I was like, now totally anybody would know I'm making up stuff as I'm going along. And I reached down and grabbed some grass off the ground and I sniffed it, throw it in the air. And she is losing her shit. She is panicking. She's like, oh my God, 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 oh my God.
Oh, bless her heart.
And she looks at me and I says, your new name is Powerful One, Susan. She goes, my name is Sarah. I said, just Susan. Your name is Powerful. In our tongue, it's, oh my, no, that's good. And I went into this. It sounded like I was speaking in tongues. And I went, it was like a 35 syllable word. And she comes back and she is losing it.
Was it a real word even?
Nope. I mixed Aramaic. I probably called on the devil and didn't know about it. I was like making stuff up. So she looks at me and goes, oh my God, what does that mean? What does that mean? Oh my God, what does that mean? I said, dumb white blonde. And for 10 seconds, she goes, oh, how rude. What's up?
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That was beautiful.
I just had about 15 more questions pop into my head. So really quick, I'm going to say them really quick and then you can talk about them if you can remember them, and if not, I'll remind you. Number one, I want you to tell me about your beadwork and educate us on beadwork and why it's important, and if our viewers can get some, and if there's meaning behind it, or if it's just a fun arts and crafts project. And then number two, I want you to talk a little bit about cultural appropriation and whether or not I should still be burning sage to cleanse my office when I want to meditate, and whether or not I should take down the dream catcher from my wall, stuff like that. Okay.
All right. Let's beadwork first. Beadwork's huge in our culture because it keeps our culture alive. Beadwork's been around forever. Yes, and you can find beadwork everywhere. Matter of fact, if you become a Facebook friend of mine, I have tons of Native artists that share the beadwork. We love when people buy our beadwork. It helps our communities. It goes back to our families. So it's a big plus. I have quite a bit of beadwork myself. I do beadwork as well. I do crafts. You know, and we're very modern. So, you know, I'm a Star Wars nerd. I'm a
I love
nerd.
that.
So I'm a straight up nerd. I got my
Nerds unite.
That's it. To answer your other question is the cultural appropriation, right? That was one of them, right?
Yes.
There's a
Burning
difference
sage,
between
dream catchers, things like that.
there's a difference between culture appropriation and a cultural appreciation.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
All right. If you know why it's being done and you're doing it for the right reasons, good. You want to burn sage, but you know what it's for, you know how to do it, you got a purpose behind it, and you're not mixing with it something else, and you're taking it for the sole purpose of what it is, cool.
Okay.
Dressing up like us, not cool.
Okay.
You do not need to dress up as us to show your appreciation. You don't.
Okay.
I went to Ireland 4 times. Not one time did I ever buy a kilt.
That's
You
good.
know, and
Scottish.
Scottish. Thank you. I'm sorry, Scottish, right? And we all make that mistake. I apologize. But I never bought a
Americans
kilt.
make it too.
Even though we have Scottish in my family, and I know the family tartan, and I can wear the family tartan.
Cool. Yeah.
But I don't do that. Why? Because I don't have enough understanding or attachment to that culture to show that. I would never want to disrespect those people. I hold them in the highest regards. And if I had to pick another culture that was very similar to ours tribally, it's the Scottish culture. They're very similar. As a matter of fact, we have a history with them that when the potato famine was happening over in those lands, guess who supplied them with potatoes?
Yep.
Oklahoma. That's right.
And there's a
The
memorial
Choctaw.
to the indigenous peoples of America because of what they did for the Irish.
And not just that, during the pandemic, who do you think bought our COVID shots?
No way, really?
Yes, they bought
Ireland?
they bought all of the Choctaw COVID shots.
That is so cool.
That is.
You know,
It is.
to give that back, that respect back. I mean, I love the culture, so I would never ever disrespect them in that way. So I tell people, if it feels wrong, it's normally wrong. The dream catcher, I have no problem with you. I sell dream catchers constantly. I buy it. But I also educate what the dream catcher is for and what the mentality is. Nothing means anything unless you understand the story behind it. If you don't know what the story behind it and why we do it, then what's the use of having it at all?
Mhm, mhm.
You know what I mean? Now you give me a third question.
Oh no, I think that was it. I think
Indigenous and beadwork, cultural appropriation and beadwork.
yeah.
You asked about sage. You asked about burning sage.
Burning sage, yes.
Yeah.
Burning sage, understand what it's for. Our culture is not the only culture that burnt something to eradicate spirits or put in a good mood. And sage is actually amazing because, especially for people that deal with anxiety and PTSD, it has a chemical effect on your brain that helps you relax.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sage is a really good thing. I do ask people not to buy sage off of Amazon
Okay.
because sage is actually becoming a very hard plant to grow and hard
Yeah.
to get your hands on
The
because
shortage
people
of
are
it.
over harvesting because they want to sit here and there's for instance,
Because there's a lot of
smudge,
anxiety to fight.
right? Like when I smudge, understand the smudging is one like when I go out into the public and I know I have bad energy on me, or something bad happened around me, or I'm in a bad mood when I come home, the first thing I do is smudge because I don't want that to spread. I don't want that bad feelings to spread. So I smudge. When I go out, or if I'm dealing with something, like if I'm dealing with my depression and my anxiety here at home, I smudge before I go out. So I don't carry that to somebody else. It has been proven that we suck in each other's energy, good and bad. A good example is, you've ever been in a great mood and you go into work and there's that one person that's in a horrible mood. And by the time you go home, you're in a horrible mood.
Yes.
It's because all you're doing is radiating that. Our bodies absorb all that bad stuff. So the same thing with positivity. Have you ever been in a bad mood and been around somebody positive? And when you leave them, they make you positive. You're like, oh my God, I don't feel so bad about the situation I'm in no more. This person really, their smile, their upbeat tempo, everything. A good example is Frank. When I got to meet Frank at the VA, I was in a nasty place. And so was Frank. We both were suffering from our own demons that we're dealing with. But I look forward to at nighttime around 2 a.m. Me and Frank sometimes would meet in the kitchen and sit at the dinner table, and I would talk his ear off. And
Wait.
And Frank would just, and when I went to bed, I was such in a better mood. You know, so this kind of proves that we suck in those energies from each other. So sage is one of those things that, you know, we do to cleanse ourselves, where we don't spread things to other people. So as long as you're using sage in the way it's meant to use, sage away.
All right.
People think it's
Sage
connected
away.
to ghosts. People think it's connected to ghosts because we have the Wiccan community kind of have taken sage a part of their own self, and then we have other communities, and you know, you got
like
this.
ghost hunters, and yeah.
And people,
we're gonna have to make a shirt for your podcast that says "Sage Away" with quotation marks in your name.
absolutely, sage away.
You need to sell that as merch. Sage Away.
Absolutely.
I would buy the fuck out of that t-shirt.
But that's just, you know, I'm one of those people that I'm all about respect. I'm big about respect. And I think we've lost that in our society, is just respect for one another. Even our disagreements, if you say something I disagree.
And compassion.
Yeah.
We've eliminated compassion. If people aren't perfect right on the first try, we'll destroy them.
Yes, we will.
Media.
And no one gets a second chance.
No one
gets a second chance.
We'll
You screw up
cancel
once,
them.
that's it. And I totally disagree with that, because like people come at me and I get rude stuff, and I can be mad all the time, or I can educate you.
Yeah.
I
Just
can
learn
educate you.
stuff, people.
That's the whole goal in life. When you stop learning, you start dying.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, this has been, I think, one of our best podcasts ever. Will you come
Aw.
back? Will you come back and talk to us again?
Absolutely. Yes, this is fun.
This is great. And where can we find your podcast?
You go on Facebook right now. It's called the B&B Podcast. We're going to be doing a big show tomorrow about Native American drums. We have 6 drum lead drummers coming on. We're talking about the past, the present, and the future of the Drum Society. And you can ask questions on there, of course. And we open it up to everybody to come and just take a gander and learn something. We have a whole program coming up for the missing Indigenous women, where we have 4 women that have dealt, one that's a survivor of actually being kidnapped off the reservation, and she survived it. And we have some psychologists talking about how that mentally plays a problem with our women and our young children that are dealing with this society. So, and what stuff that's not being done by government.
Yeah.
And if people want to get in touch with you, can they get in touch with you through that Facebook page?
You sure can. And I also
Are you
have
on
my own
Instagram
Facebook
too?
page. I'm on Instagram, Patrick Littlewolf Brooks. And one word, Littlewolf is one word.
Brooks.
And if there's any teachers out there that are looking to bring dancers and educators into their classrooms, I'm always open to come out and do that as well, because kids ask the best questions.
Yeah, they do.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast and talking with us today. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like calmer, and I feel like more hopeful, and you've had such a great effect on my day. I think I'm going to have a better day than yesterday just because you've been in it. Thank you so much.
Remember, just be a little bit better than you were yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, ladies. In my language, we say, Allah hasken na and may Creator watch over you.
Okay.
Can you say it again, please?
Yeah, I was going to say, instead of our usual closing, let's let Patrick close the podcast this week. All right. Over to you, Patrick.
I like Patrick's closing.
Well, the first word is Yahweh, meaning thank you in Tuscarora, Yahweh. And then Yama Eskanaho, meaning Creator bless you.
Creator bless you. Thank you, Patrick.
Right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Thank you.
Oh, that was awesome.